Before I start, I'd like to explain maybe a little bit about Hermes, because it's a very important part.
Right.
Because 3-4 years ago already, we have now put the whole supply chain under one roof. Also to answer that already, because this is already the challenges which you mentioned, which e-commerce has. So we have the sourcing part, we have the transportation, warehousing and distribution under one roof, which is very unique. Not many companies have that. And this was already at that time a plan also to be or to have the answers for what is e-commerce requesting or requiring from us.
Right.
So the development which we see has a huge impact on sourcing. Although we have also here again to distinguish between companies, take a big retailer like H&M, who has in addition e-commerce, because normally what you see in the store you also see in e-commerce. And you have pure e-commerce players like Amazon and Zalando, for example.
Yeah.
There is already a little bit of a different story, but overall, in terms of sourcing, first of all, it's the speed. It is definitely the most important part. People who are, and I think all of us, we are in the meantime shopping from the internet, we are expecting every day, every minute something new. So that means the consumers are expecting from us, from our side, speed.
Yes.
So every company has to be able to show on the internet something new every single moment. So the long process of preparing an item for a catalog or for a store, e-commerce is different. So speed is very important.
Right.
Innovation is also a very important part.
Right.
Because customers who are shopping on the internet want to be inspired, want to see something new. If they go on the same internet site or website and see the same products, on and on again, they would be bored and they would move on. And they have so many choices in e-commerce. So you need, as a company, bring innovation also from the sourcing side, because the buyers cannot do it alone. So they need innovation from our side.
Right.
You will see a development of markets. Look, Otto is a European-based company.
Right.
So the European sourcing markets are playing an even more important role in the future because they are close to the customers. Transportation is much shorter. You have very creative markets like Turkey, for example. So there is a shift in this regard as well.
Right.
So in terms of people who are working in the sourcing offices, the normal follow-up role, as we always call it in the old days, when merchandisers, they get an order, they follow it up, they told the buyer, listen, the order is punctual or not, this time is over. You need also here different people, more innovative people, fast speed in thinking, who are able to adjust to the different needs. So overall, e-commerce is changing also the sourcing side. 6 months at least, in the old days. We had 6 months. Look, Otto is coming very much from a mail order perspective. So Otto grew with catalogs. You have a big catalog which 2 times a year, valid for 6 months, which was prepared basically then 6 to 8 or 12 months in advance.
Right.
And this is the old historical way. But now today this has changed. It needs to be much faster. We have dimension on the Hermes roof. We have created an SCM platform, supply chain management platform, because very important is also the transparency, the whole supply chain. That we have a connection from the production place to the distribution place, that customers can always know where are my products. That's also very important. It's very transparent. So so all these technologies also on the whole supply chain part is very important. The way we are selecting new suppliers has changed. We are looking now for suppliers who, for example, working with vertical customers, because verticals are already fast. You know, you have companies like H&M, like Zara, they are already very fast as a retailer. But these are suppliers they are working with who already know how to be fast, speed. We are looking for vendors. We even found out in Hubei, inner China, we found very creative vendors who do fabric development, product development. So, and in our organization, also big changes. We are doing R&D in the meantime, because very important, the role of the agencies is changing. So everybody has to change. The suppliers have to change, but also the agencies have to change, because again, the old role, following up, being the right partner for the customer, show them right, is not enough. Value-added service is extremely important, because otherwise the customer could also work directly with the supplier.
Right.
So we have to play a much more active role in terms of sourcing, bringing on new vendors, new markets, new market development, very important, but R&D as well. And that has nothing to do so much with the e-commerce, but don't forget, in our sourcing world, the supply chain part, in every area, the social responsibility is very important.
Right, the compliance.
And that is our part where we have to play the major role, because we have to make sure, no matter which partner is working with our customers, that he is that he is social compliant. That is very important. I can hardly comment how important this is for other companies, and I think it would be unfair to make statements there. I can only talk about our own company, and for us it's very important. We are not working with any factory which does not go through our own audit process.
Okay.
We have in the meantime a company called Astra Supply Chain Services, which is separated because we have an accreditation for this company. So we take it very serious. We have worldwide more than 25 auditors who are working for our company. So we are taking it very serious, because also the end consumer are taking it very serious and more serious. In Europe, it's a much more important topic today. And therefore this is very, very important. And for us at DNA, next to price and quality, certainly the compliance part has to be, definitely plays a very important role. But we are doing it a bit different. We are not doing this black and white. So once a factory is not compliant in certain aspects, I mean, we all do not accept child labor. We are not accepting forced labor. But there are other issues where you can also try to help suppliers, factories to get better. And we have a program, the Otto Group has a social program there to support factories, to help them to get to the next level. Because that's also for us important. We do not want to have just black and white, in and out. We want to help factories to get better and then to work with us as partners. First of all, coming back to Otto, I mean, Otto is certainly a unique company here because we have multi-channel, as you know. We started with a mail order company.
Yes.
In the meantime, e-commerce is even playing the bigger part, and we have also certain retail stores. So it's the whole three parts, which makes it much more complex.
Yes.
And from the old traditional mail order company moving to an e-commerce company has challenges. But in terms of the sourcing part, again, let's start with the markets. We see certainly, again, as I said, a trend where European markets are more and more important for us. Northern Africa as well. These are two areas which we also develop, where we're also investing in the future. Simply because you have the right mix between the creativity of those markets and close to the market, also close to the customer, short transportation time. And even currently, with the US dollar development, prices are interesting for us. I mean, we are not talking about the basic items, we are talking about fashionable items. The part of the speed, as I mentioned already before when you asked me about the general question, is an extremely important part. And where all parties, suppliers, we and the customers are working on different projects. We have a fast fashion project in Turkey, with one of our major customers, where we are working partly on 20-25 days lead time, which is a very different process. First of all, very important, as less people are involved, as better. It has to be a very lean process, where you have only a few people who are able and allowed to make decisions. Because in the normal process, you have the buyers, you have maybe the rebuyers, you have quality department, you have a lot of people involved. If you want to be fast, you need to have a very lean process in terms of decision steps. You need vendors who are able to give you innovation and who are able also to produce fast. That's very important. So they need to know how to do it. That's what I mentioned, vendors who are having experience with vertical customers. We even have in Bangladesh a vendor who is delivering us denim in 20 to 25 days because he is blocking, for instance, denim fabric. So look, I'm a couple of years already in this industry, and every company is talking about lead time, about how to get faster. And there are many projects going around. But at the end, it's all about, do you have the fabric available or not? So that's basically, but that needs commitments, that needs from all sides certain commitments, and that makes it so tricky because there's always a certain reluctancy on all sides. Vendors do not like blocks so much, some customers, but this is actually very often the key how to become faster.
Right.
So, talking about innovation, I mentioned speed, I mentioned we are having different projects, fast fashion projects. In terms of our own organization, very important, I mentioned it shortly, R&D for us, something definitely very important for the future.
Right.
Because, as I mentioned, innovation needs, in e-commerce, you need to have always new things. I think the most important thing is the feedback from the customers, because we are an organization, we are part of the Otto Group, but we have also external customers. We have retailers, we have tele-shopping customers, we have e-commerce, so all kind of different customers. And these are not customers, again, who belong to the Otto Group. They don't have to work with us. They could also work with any other agent. But they are obviously so far quite happily working with us. They see the progress, particularly on these new areas, as I said, R&D, the compliance part. The Otto Group is well known in the world for having certain values, because Dr. Otto, the owner of the company, is staying for certain values, and compliance is one important part. So that is, and this is also very important for companies when they work with a partner like us. So we see that from the feedback. Internally, we see it from the motivation, how people are motivated working on these new developments, and how it is taken. Don't forget, it's a different process and different step for the organization. Having an R&D development team, this team, for instance, has to work closely with all the markets. And it took a while until the markets take this as a value added. So it's because, first of all, it's more work, for sure. But once the first orders are coming from the customers, maybe with a product which has been developed by R&D, the markets see the benefit. So it's step by step how you grow and how you develop these things. And then when the people see the positive results, that is then the way we see also the benefit from it. It's a very important part. This is an initiative or a strategy 3 years ago, where we talked about the 4 most important competencies or parts which we see we need to develop. This is a sourcing competence, this is the product competence, service competence, and certainly staff competence, staff performance. Look, services, I mentioned already, we have various areas where we can develop services. One is the social compliance part. We are very strong on the quality side. We are working with inspection centers in various countries where we do the final inspections not in the factory. We are doing it in a warehouse where the vendor cannot influence the QC, and there's a much higher quality of inspections. We do payment services, for instance, for the vendors, that we pay the vendors earlier than our customers paying us, which is also a kind of service because suppliers normally like to be paid earlier because most of them are not that cash rich. So we have developed a lot of initiatives on the service area. On the sourcing competence, look, we have around 60 different customers. And what is obvious that every single customer is different. And that means also every single customer has to be treated differently by us. For every single customer, we have to develop an own sourcing strategy. Look, we have small customers, we have big customers. We have customers with small MOQs and big MOQs. This is already the first important part when you talk about which markets are suitable. Small MOQs, you can't go to markets like Cambodia, Myanmar, and Bangladesh. Bigger, you can. So product is different. So therefore we have a lot of differentiations amongst the customers. And that's why we said sourcing competence means also that we are having the competence to develop an own strategy with every single customer. So that's very important. This is sourcing competence. And product competence is probably the most important part, because as I mentioned before, in today's world, in agencies, know-how, service requires more than in the old days. You need to have product competence. You need to have people who have the innovation, who have people you can say, listen, this blazer, which is a beautiful blazer you wear, costs a certain amount of money. That we can negotiate price on behalf of the buyer with the supplier. So this is Product competence is a lot of it. When you see our lobby, for instance, downstairs, or the way where we are sitting here, where we show products, 3 years ago the whole thing looked different. You didn't see much products. Yeah. And we are not doing it just now to create maybe more business with a customer because he passed by, but it's for the staff important. You know, they are passing constantly to the area of the offices, and they also see much more products. So they understand product is a key for our organization. So it has an impact towards the customer side, but also internally. So that's why the 4 winning principles are basically the base for everything what I'm talking to you about, the change on our side. This was the start of a huge project where the whole management team was involved, very important. You have to get everybody behind this project, and we have already developed a lot of initiatives in terms of that. I'm not really so sure whether there are so big differences, but I think that sourcing in general has various challenges. No matter whether you have a single or multiple channel, because the sourcing world is changing. Look, we have different developments. First of all, the price in China increases, so we see within China a movement. We open an office in Hubei province in inner China. We see a movement from China away to other markets. Bangladesh is for us, for example, a key market in the meantime. India, very important. Innovation, so very good market as well. We are in new areas in Myanmar, Cambodia. We are planning to open an office in Myanmar also towards the end of the year to have a presence there. And then I mentioned already Turkey as the markets. So you see a shift in markets, new developments, and this is always a challenge for everybody. It's not only for Otto, for everybody in this world. We talked about the part compliance. We see with the Bangladesh issue, with the accord, what it means for the sourcing world, which is a very different approach now. This is a challenge not only in Bangladesh, in every market. Subcontracting in China, huge topic for everybody, no matter for which company. And it was an issue 20, 30 years ago, and will be also for the next 20, 30 years an issue. And to move away from one vendor or move around doesn't make sense. It's much better to try with your partner to work on the individual product, individual style, to see what can be done in order to make it a better or more attractive price. So product engineering is really a very important part, even more in the future. And for that you need vendors who are also innovative, have ideas, have new systems. So it's another challenge, because we are having still also a lot of very good traditional vendors, but again with the new requirements we will see a shift. So that these are the main challenges we see in the sourcing world, and there I wouldn't see so many difference, as I mentioned, between multi-channel and single. Take a retailer only, and if it's a larger retailer, certainly for them it's a bit easier because they have normally larger MOQs, they don't have the smaller MOQs, they have only, let's say, one assortment. But on the other hand, I don't think in the future you will see a lot of single channel companies. You need to be e-commerce. Every single company has to be e-commerce, because the new generation doesn't know anything. I mean, they still want to have the shopping feeling. They like to go to a store. But e-commerce, being able to order stuff from the internet, is a must. So there will be no company, from my point of view, successful or can survive in the future with only one single, except you are only e-commerce. That's a different story. No? I mean, again, Amazon is a different story. But when I talked about single, I was more referring to maybe only a retailer or only mail order company. So because the e-commerce companies in this world today, they are already on the right path. I think that is the biggest challenge, to be different, and this is something certainly on one hand which the buyers and the designers have to think about, because they are the one, and they have the biggest headache from my point of view, because this is the biggest challenge, to be smart, to be innovative, to have the new products. But the partnerships with the individual vendors are very important. So, look, I mentioned that we have a vendor payment service. So we are having, Otto is always well known of paying very punctual to the vendors. This is very important for the majority of the vendors. Don't forget, we are in general not working with the big vendors who might work with the Nikes and the Adidas in the world. Our vendors are average size, not so cash rich, so they need the money as early as possible. So payments, services and punctual payments is very important. And we believe very much in partnerships. We want to develop a partnership with a vendor. We don't jump from one vendor to the other because of price differences. We stay with vendors if we can. And this is in the future even more important because, as you mentioned, there is more and more companies have to go this path and have to try to work with these kind of vendors. And that is very important. Still, there are differences. Take the big part, Africa. A lot of people talk about Africa when we talk about the answer, where is everybody moving, because China is getting more important. Yes. It's less important and more expensive. Yeah. So Africa is a very important area where you have already a lot of American big companies. You have an H&M working there. But for Otto, for example, it's still a bit too early. We are starting now and we see a lot of potential. Also in connection with Cotton Made in Africa. Cotton Made in Africa is a big part of the Otto Group's strategy and in the future. And Dr. Otto personally is supporting these initiatives a lot. So we are having connection with the fields where the cotton is coming from, and then we put it into the products of the Otto world. So therefore Africa, where you get the cotton from, plus the production, is certainly ideal in the future. But it's still a long way to go because our MOQs are generally speaking not that large, so there you have certain limitations in this regard. But we believe that with our supplier policy that we try to help suppliers, we are staying with vendors as much as we can, even in difficult times, and we are not jumping around because of certain prices. We believe that's the right strategy, and this will also give us the opportunity then to find good vendors, because Otto in general has a good reputation in the markets. A reliable customer, and I think that's something. And Otto is a company, we mentioned before our staff, but again we have the same values for our partners, and that's very important. And so the expectation level from the customers is definitely much higher now. And especially that they want to see us in a different function. I think I mentioned it before. Right. They definitely need and want to shift much more responsibility to us. They expect different expertise at our side. As I said, this historical normal merchandiser function is not good enough anymore. They need partners. They need basically the mirror organization from their side and our side. They expect R&D. This is services which is today now that is normal that you bring it. Right. That you are the experts in your sourcing markets. That these are all things where the expectation level has definitely is much higher than before, because also of the development, but don't forget also because of competition. I mean, not only e-commerce is one part, the competition in general is also today much higher, and that is why every company is under pressure, and that's this pressure they also put then on us. That's normal, and we put on the vendors, so as everybody is passing. But at the end, we can only figure it out together, and I think there's not one part of this whole which needs to be successful and which be professional and work well. All parties, and as closer you are, as I mentioned, as better you can solve the problem. It's a big change. I mean, I can only talk from my own experience because I have two children, and they grew up now with a laptop and with all kind of computer things. And in my generation, I'm already a bit older. I get in touch much later with this. So, and this is a huge change. I mean, when you look into the bus, when you look in the train, everybody has a mobile phone or have an iPad, whatever around. So there's a huge change, and also on the customer behavior certainly. Right. For companies, there are challenges. Right. Look, from the history where our group comes from the mail order company, you have normally very loyal customers. And e-commerce customers are normally not loyal because they shop around, which is not a complaint, it's a matter of fact. They look for discount, they have so many choices, and then to keep customers, that is the biggest challenge, because they come to your website, order one item, but then to keep them, that is a big challenge. So you need to make sure that the quality is good, that they're happy with the product.
Yeah.
So next time they might shop from somewhere else, so they don't have really this connection with your company. And this has changed, basically, or has changed the whole setup and the whole area in this world. So, and anybody who thinks this will not move on, this is unstoppable, this is something, I'm already thinking again, as I said, my kids will probably book everything or order everything from the internet. And this is the biggest change for all of us. And this is with all then the challenges we talked before about in terms of the sourcing setup. About the companies, as also the head offices, a lot of changes there because you have a completely different way of thinking. And let's not forget, also for the workforce, it's a different, because the new generation is also different, you know. Life, job balance, very important. We are discussing this also in our organization. This is the younger generation. Yes, one thing is they grew up with e-commerce, they grew up with mobile, but they have also maybe a different point of view about how they want to do their life, you know. Career is on one end important, but they want to spend time with friends, family. So as an employee, you have a different expectation, and the employer we have, for instance, flexible working hours here now in our organization, and which is highly appreciated by the staff. So it's nothing only for Europe or America, this is also something where Asian people in the meantime have a different point of view, a different thinking. So this whole development is great. I mean, look, as I said, on one end I'm older, but I see a lot of challenges there. It's great fun to see the changes. And it will be interesting to see the next years what else is coming up. Look, I think you should better ask the people on one hand, you know, but look, I'm also working long time for Otto already. Look, we are a family-based company, which is first of all the difference between, or when you may be a stock market-driven company. So, and very much comes with the way Dr. Otto is doing the company, or is building up the company. His father was the founder, and he is then the one who is basically put it to the national level. He is a very nice person. Also, when you would meet him, very nice, very social. When he walks through an office here, he talks to everybody, so he's very open. And he cares about his people. So I think that's the way Otto is basically successful in this regard. And it's also the environment we are trying to have here, that we are caring about our staff, that we offer training. We offer a certain job security. I mean, fortunately our business is okay, so that we can also give, but we have also changes. I mean, we have sometimes also to make changes which affecting staff. But it's always a question how you explain it and that you find a solution which is acceptable for the people, even in harsh times. But overall, I think it's an environment where people feel happy about it. It's a team. We are doing team events where we want to create a nice teamwork. We're having Asia-wide meetings where people from different offices come together. So it's overall, I think that makes it why people are staying with our company, and that is very nice.